I'd like to call the order, the the Town of North Stonington Board of Finance meeting on August 16th at 7 o'clock. My name is Dan Smith, chairing for Paul Simons tonight. We have in attendance Gary Nino, Carl Johnson, Amy Friend, Sarah Nelson, and online Winona Burdine. So, agenda item number 2, public comments. No public. No public? Okay. Gary's allowed.
Gary Anino, 91 Main Street. So we're rapidly approaching budget season, and I don't hear or see any changes to capital or capital planning or capital appropriation. And I'm getting really nervous that we're going to have to sit through what we sat through last year.
The Board of Selectmen has had 2 meetings. They've redefined capital. 2 emails have gone out to all boards and commissions, and the capital request form has been sent out and is due October 2nd.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of important that we as the Board of Finance understand the structure and the approach that's being proposed.
I think the plan was to discuss it at the tri-board meeting in September.
Okay. So noted. All right. There is no other public comments. Agenda item number 3, Board of Selectmen end of year transfers.
Okay, so the Board of Selectmen are here tonight. Actually, Bob Carlson, the first selectman's here tonight. I'm not sure if Brett Mastran is online. But we're gonna be talking about 2 sets of appropriations. The first one being the end of year transfers. I'm gonna let Christine Dias work on that one, and then we'll turn it over to the Highway Department for the second.
Okay, so the first transfer we're discussing, and these are all transfers, nothing is an additional appropriation, so we are going within the existing budget, moving from one line item to the other. So the first transfer is to B 6.00 salary tax collector from B 1.14 grant writer. That's $3,684.06. And that is to cover, we changed the position from part-time to full-time in the middle of the year. So this is just to cover the additional salary for that. Do you want me to go through all 3? Okay, so the second one is B 27.17 transfer station wages from B 27.08 public works, labor and wages. This is $3,386.16, and that's for transfer station staff coverage. When we have people that are on vacation or out sick at the transfer station, staff from the highway department go and cover those hours. They get paid out of the transfer station line item. So we need additional funds to cover that. We're taking it from the regular highway staff line item. The third one is done annually. So we're not permitted to budget for prior year tax refunds. You can't anticipate that you're going to have them because you don't know what you've collected in excess. So it's funded at $1 every year. So this is B 30.01 tax refunds prior year, and we're doing the transfer from B 26.04 state troopers. And that's $16,242.27.
Just want to make a comment on the first transfer. I just want to thank the Board of Finance because allowing us to go to a full-time tax collector, you may have noticed it's been a very smooth transition, and our last 2 tax periods have been much different than they were when we had a part-time person who really didn't know what they were doing. So it's been a big go that route, and thank you for allowing us to do that.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the following transfers as written.
Second.
Sarah? All right, discussion?
One question would be on the tax fund prior year from state troopers. Is that money going to be short next year to replace it, or is it already?
Nope. So we had we budget based on what the state tells us for the resident trooper program. And then there are adjustments to their contract. So we actually had to pay less on the fringe for them. We also had less overtime. We have an anticipated amount of overtime that we're going to have. We didn't have as much, so we had a surplus in that fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Winona?
All set, thank you.
No problem. Okay, with that said, let's put this to the vote. All in favor?
Am I seated?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 0, 0. Right. Second one?
Okay, the second set of appropriations, Christine will talk about LOSUP, and then I'm gonna have the foreman and assistant foreman from the highway department do a presentation on the second, appropriation.
Okay.
What I'd like to do, though, if we can just take a second, Christine, we spoke today a little bit about, additional revenue from last year. Just the Board of Ed has Board of Finance has an idea where the town's position is right now, so if you could.
So looking at, before we talk about the end of the year, looking at the undesignated fund prior to year closeout, we had $2,378,157.70. So that's 2,378,157.70. And that includes the additional appropriation that was done and approved for the rec program and for the North Stonington Quarterly. When I looked at the profit and loss statement today, which is unedited, so this unaudited, so this is not a definite, but this is what we're trending and looking at right now. We look like we're going to have about $400,000 in excess income. Part of why that is so large is because of the capital projects that were deobligated throughout the course of the year. That was about 150,000. And then the other is just from different programs that we've had throughout the year, additional funds that we collected because of solar projects and other things. And then looking at unspent funds, not including the Board of Education, we do not include them in any discussion that we are having. We think that we have about, again, another $400,000 that's going to be returned to the undesignated fund for unspent. So it's about $800,000 that's going to be going back into the undesignated fund. But again, unaudited.
Unaudited, and it's potential.
Mhm.
That's just from the Board of Selectmen budget.
From the general government side, yes.
General government. Okay. So do you want to go through the transfer, or do you want to do the transfer last, or do you want to have the presentation first? Yeah. Does the board agree? End of year transfers, but this kind of links together. Are you okay with that, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good. I don't know if you have to say that, like, that was for.
Oh. The Board of Selectmen additional appropriation for transfer station. This is the transfer
Oh.
station one?
Perfect.
Okay,
We're good.
yeah, we're good. Okay,
So we're going to have Alan Ladd, the Assistant Highway Foreman, do a presentation with support from Don Hill, Highway Foreman.
So you guys have already seen the first one. This one's a little bit different, but this was the transfer station idea we had back in March with a little bit of changes to it. The pictures of the two trucks and the two trailers we use, that we were moved the funds for last time to go towards, hopefully towards a roll-off truck. So this past month, we actually got the first bill in. We still pay the $216 rental for the recycling side. We did get a bill. It used to be $190. We got the first bill of $425 for the hauling fees, not including the fuel charges that change monthly. So we've actually seen it now for the first. So approximately there'd be like $46,792 a year towards that. Of course, like I said, the fuel charges change monthly on the fuel prices going up and down. We're hoping to do the compactor units on both sides, and this would be, if we bought it, we would do our own hauling. not have to pay the $425 for the hauling and the rental fee of $190 a month. So that'd be a 3-yard compactor with 40-yard containers. And we usually fill about 2 a week with them, with Wednesday through Saturday. This is what we look like now with the rental and the way it's set up. It'll look the exact same. We're just gonna own it instead of renting it monthly. This is the current garbage setup we have. We use the excavator to pack the walking floor trailers and the truck, of course, to haul it. And, the green one is, of course, the backup truck, so we have it, and we do have a second trailer. We also have Calmary do all of our scrap, the steel and the aluminum. They haul it away. We get a percentage back. That was also in the presentation last time to get the 30-yard containers to do our own and get a little bit more revenue in for each container that gets hauled out. And the only good part is Yarrington's right here in town. It's a very short distance. So the proposed plan was 2 30-yard open top containers at $7,110 each. That'd be for the scrap metal. 1 40-yard open top for garbage for the big objects for $8,225, and that was $22,444 for the 3 containers there. The compactor containers total would be $91,503. That's 1 34-yard self-contained container with the power unit that goes with it, with a second container to be able to swap out. The power unit stays stationary. The container goes with it. It contains all the liquids and everything. That's why it's a self-contained unit. Then we had a 3-yard compactor for the recycling, 2 40-yard containers that connect to that, and then the ram stays on the floor that time with the power unit, and then just the containers go. They can't do a 40-yarder for the garbage only because it's self-contained, and the ram has to stay with the container. So the truck was $250,000. That's a 10-wheeler roll-off. And the installation cost to put the new garbage setup in is about $25,000 with the rail system in the floor that keeps the container in the same spot. So when you build the funnel, it doesn't change at all. And the new electrical to go over to run it. So that's a total of $388,948. The potential revenue and savings with this is we could sell the 2 Mack trucks or the 2 walking floor trailers that we had talked about before of replacing, and then found this new idea. The new vehicle setup would have 8 less tires and 2 less axles on the road each trip, which is a plus. Less use on the excavator, save on wear and tear, all the changes in fuel and everything like that with that. The smaller trucks would hopefully save time at the incinerator because you can get in and out faster with a smaller unit. And they usually put 2 big trucks in, a couple little ones in to make it work faster. So the revenue with the 5 pieces, because we also have a box trailer that when we get rid of the 2 big trucks, we won't be able to use or move, so we might as well get rid of that as well. We expect to get 60,000 back for those 5 pieces. And the $57,450 we had already moved from the new walking floor trailer we were looking at to this equals $117,450. But of course the trucks wouldn't be able to sell until we were all set up and ready to go, and to make sure everything went smoothly. So that money we had set aside before for a walking floor didn't include the second one we had that we use to swap out. So the funding sources we came up with would be $108,679 from the LoCIP plan, which you can use if the equipment stays at the transfer station and doesn't leave. So the truck, of course, can't be in LoCIP because it drives down the road. Everything else will stay at the facility and we're good to go. Which is a nice thing. Yep, so the containers.
Sorry, including the containers that would be on the truck.
So I think we could, except for the open tops, if I'm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the compacting containers we can use LoCIP funds for, if we need to lease anything to do the installation, the hookups for the electrical and the rail system, anything that's being done to actually install these items can be charged to LoCIP, but anything that's the movable open tops cannot be.
Because the compactors can only work at the facility, so it's part of what's there. we can't take them to anywhere else and try to use them. So the capital fund was $81,286.50. That included the 57,000, a little over we had saved in the bottle fund money from last year, and hopefully we'll get another $10,000 coming up. So the additional appropriation we were asking for would be 190,000 from the undesignated fund. The timeline, very important. The town meeting approval is required, of course. The truck takes a minimum of 6 months to take delivery of, once we get it. Once we have a letter, I can call the dealership, order the truck. At the same exact time, I need to call the body company and tell them that I have a letter. And then we can get that on order, and then they hold the price as well. So then it can't change because we've already technically ordered. So the LoCIP plan will be submitted prior to the project. New funds won't be available until March 1st. So at that time, we could use that and order the containers because they're about 12 weeks out. And like I said, the trucks can't get sold, of course, until after all that's set up and in, because we need them to still keep running. So the expenses, the containers are $22,445. The compacting containers are $91,503. The truck was $250. The installation is $25,000. That's $388,948. The funding source was LoCIP of $108,679. The capital funds that we had already saved was $81,286. The bottle fund money of $10,000, and the additional appropriation comes to $389,965. The sale of the equipment for the future savings would be $60,000 in returns, and the annual budget savings would be $46,000 with the prices we pay now. We could save that. And the additional appropriation would be returned in 3 years. We could also use a truck for many other things. Leaves, HHW. We would like to use it for, rather than run 3 containers, we could run 1, which would save time. We could also use it for storm cleanup, hauling anything around town, because there's a bigger truck than we have now, so you can definitely haul more material in one load.
So the reason that we're looking for the additional appropriation on the LoCIP side, when we had done the budget, we were told by the state that the projection was $48,881. So that's what we budgeted. After July 1st, we were notified that now they're looking at giving the town 73,000 for LoCIP funds. We also have additional funds from last year that were left unspent just because of the timing of the projects we were doing. So we would be looking for an additional appropriation of $59,816 to B27.00 LoCIP current from the undesignated fund. And that is for using unspent funds from last year and the additional budgeted funds for fiscal year 24. And then, as Alan mentioned, we're looking for 190,000 to go into C 2.05 transfer station compactor upgrades from the undesignated fund for the purchase of the truck and the containers. So we're looking at going to, we need to go to a town meeting, both for the LoCIP 5-year plan, which needs to be approved annually. We will be adding this in as the project for fiscal year 24. And then the other projects for the next 4 years. And so the LoCIP 5-year plan will be presented at the same time as this additional appropriation so that the townspeople know the full comprehensive plan of what we're trying to do.
This is that currently right now, it's not gonna change any weights that we haul. It's gonna actually, help us out as far as nothing's gonna change. We're not gonna be hauling more containers. We're hauling the same amount of containers because these are compact with a compacting ram rather than the excavator. The other thing too is important that you guys should know is that we don't only use the dumpsters for our department, we also help out the school. So when the school needs to haul stuff, like when we were doing demolition here, we haul stuff out. Just the other day, they asked for a dumpster for stuff that they need to haul out of here. So it's a multi-department use, and you gotta remember, and I keep telling you guys, this bulky waste is not gonna be there forever. And you'll already have those containers and the vehicle in place to save you stuff instead of having it hauled out, because it's gonna get very expensive when the bulky waste is closed and you have to haul it out. So those are just some of the things you should also, think about when you're making your decisions.
Donnie, just, can you give me the 60-second when the bulky waste is closed? Like, I know we've talked about it. I have no idea what triggers that. I'm just curious.
Okay, so, it's based on an estimate. I estimate it every year to, yearly to the DEP. And then we have a company come in that estimates also. It's hard to tell exactly how long it could be. I mean, I get estimates from anywhere between 10 to 20 years. So I can tell you it's between 10 and 20 years, depending on how much comes in. I can tell you that since we've implemented these fees, the first 2 weeks, we had 2 loads of bulky waste come in since the fees kicked in place. So there was a lot of fraud going on up there, people from out of town, contractors, whatever, bringing stuff in there. And this is what you guys did, what the selectmen did to change that. It was hard. People hate change, but it's working. So 10 years can be 20 years, 20 years could be 30 years. I don't know. But I can tell you that the way it was going, it was getting close fast.
And when it has to close, then we have to haul it out.
So once it's closed, we have to have a container on the ground. People have to pay to get rid of it, at that time. Probably gonna have to have scales when that happens.
Okay.
Cause it's impossible to determine weights.
Mhm.
Once those loads go to where they're going to, they're weighed. So if we're off on our weights, the town's gonna be spending more money it shouldn't, so the scales are gonna have to go in prior to that happening.
What happens to the bulky waste pile here?
It's gonna have to be sealed. So, fortunately, I worked on one when I had my business, in Killenly. And it's basically a layer of clay, membrane, layer of clay, membrane, then, so much topsoil. So that one up there, I can tell you was over, and at the time, I'm going back to probably 91, 92, that was over $2 million.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, those usually, depending on the infrastructure you have to build around it as catch basins, how much clay is already on site, if you have to truck it in, if you can use a native right there. There's a lot. I've seen prices where it's 300 down south where they can just mine the clay out themselves.
The difference is.
3-4 million easily.
Not to interrupt you, but the difference is the one that we have is a lot of wood, a lot of
Yeah.
construction debris. The one in Killing was actually trash.
Hmm.
So you might not have to go with as much on that type of, facility, although there is trash underneath, from years ago. Hopefully most of it burned up, but, there is trash there, but I'm not sure. It's gonna be whatever DEP is gonna regulate us to do. Well, regulate Alan, cause I'll be gone.
You'll be on a
so-
beach drinking a cocktail.
What's
right?
that?
Said you'll be on a beach somewhere
Something-
retired.
something with an umbrella. That they'll determine what's gonna happen. Every year, regulations change, so it might not be as bad. I don't know. I'm just telling you what we had to do when I saw it when we did it.
No, it's helpful because we've talked about it, but we never talked about it. So thank you for the education.
Yeah, and again, this container, this system that, Alan thought about and brought forward is phenomenal. I mean, this is gonna be great for the town because you're not gonna be depending on another company on 3 different items, 4 different items. If you think about it, trash, metals, compactor for your recyclables and your bulky waste, you're not gonna be depending on anybody but ourselves. So that's a good thing for the town, I think.
Do you see any sort of uptick in maintenance with the compactors since it's a new?
Well, I can tell you, I've been here 15 years and I've had to call Willimantic Waste on the compactor that we have, which I believe at the time was 30 years old when we got it. I called them twice.
Wow.
So in 15 years or 14 years. So they're very reliable. As long as you grease the rails and you do the minor maintenance on, they'll be fine. I don't know about the trash ones because they hold a lot of sludge in the bottom. A lot of the trashy stuff, the waters and stuff stay in the bottom of these containers and you have to have them dumped off every once in a while. So I don't know what damage that could do.
So I have. You all set? I have 2 questions. So if everything went perfect, when is the earliest that we could have this project having trash being thrown into overheads and compacting?
So the biggest thing, in my understanding, is the truck.
Yep.
And Alan, you said, 6 months minimum after it's ordered.
Okay.
Truck. The containers aren't a problem. I understand those are right on the ground, right? 12 weeks for the containers. So the biggest hurdle that we have to look at ourselves up there is number 1, building the, I don't know if we're gonna have to jackhammer the floor out of this one like we did the other one, the garbage side. We had to jackhammer that floor and pour a new floor to keep it level. I don't know if we do. So the biggest part's gonna be building that if we have to, and then second thing, putting the rails in and then, running the electrical.
Do you, how long of, would there be a downtime for that?
No, so the plan is to move the garbage from the side it's on to where the, center bay is at.
Where the air conditioners are and,
Correct.
okay,
So move that over there while they're working on that side.
okay. All right, so there should be no disruption to any of that stuff.
This should be.
Okay, and then, when you said, basically this will pay for itself in 3 years, that's based on the fees that Casella's charging currently.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
that could be actually accelerated if they go up another $200 next year and another 200 the
Correct.
following year.
We have no control over what they set the price at. We're in contract with SCARA for them to set these up for us. And then for them to haul it off as part of this, that they're set up with SCARA. But if I remember right, we don't have to go with, Willamette Rates, we can go with, the other company out of. So we're not in a contract as far as the recyclables, but we are as far as the trash.
No, we are. For recyclable SCARA,
I know.
SCARA has we don't have a rental contract on our compactor.
Okay. Okay.
There's, SCARA has a contract through 2024 with, it was Willimantic Waste, now Casella, for where the recyclables go. So
Okay.
we have to go wherever SCARA says in that contract, just like we do with the
Yeah, I
incinerator.
didn't see that contract, but, and the other thing too, we may get more money back on the recyclables because a lot of that money that when we drop the recyclables off, gets absorbed into the rental compactor and the other stuff, the fees for hauling. Some of that
Your
money gets
overhead
absorbed
costs.
into that, and that's when they come up with these other prices, because we're not getting any money back for recyclables right now.
So LoCIP funds, are we guaranteed those or,
Yes. So,
Okay.
so LoCIP funds are similar to Town Aid Road.
Mhm.
It just has an extra reporting requirement. So at whatever point you can submit your plan with your costs to the state of what you're going to do. You have to wait for them to approve it and then you can go ahead and start your project. So if this is approved now, we'll have everything together so that when the window opens up in March, we'll submit our plan, get it approved, and then order the compactor.
are they usually on time with that or are
Yes.
they, okay?
Yeah, they, either monthly or twice a month, they go through an approved LoCIP project.
Okay. Okay, does anybody else have any, questions?
Yeah,
Sarah?
so 6 months from when? From the town meeting? So you, no.
So once we have the town meeting and get confirmation that we can go ahead and order, then they'll make then we'll go to the state bid list or go out for RFP, whatever process the selectmen decide, and then be able to order the truck. We have quotes right now, so we know how much it costs, but it's just a matter of, are we going to order off the state bid or are we going to put out our own RFP?
Like, give me a month.
October.
Okay. November, December, January, February, March, April. So you can do the LoCIP in parallel. You can
Mhm.
order. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so hopefully we will have everything in place and be good to go for July 1st.
Christine, can you help me with the LoCIP funding again? I feel like I heard two numbers and I'm just trying to reconcile. So I think in the slide deck, I saw a number of $108,679.
Yes. So that number is how much we are going to use in fiscal year 24 from LoCIP. The 59,816 is the transfer request we're looking for because we already have $48,881 in that line item that we budgeted because that was what the state had projected as the amount towns were getting. But the towns are actually getting, our town is actually getting a little over 73,000. And we have unspent funds from last year. So that's why we're looking for that 59,816, which will put the line item total to 108,679.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Gary?
Yeah, so Alan, you said roughly a 3-year payback, but there was some sort of words about something payback/recovery. Is it going back in the undesignated fund or what are we gonna do?
So we'll get the money from the sale of the equipment. That'll go back into the undesignated fund. The 46,000 a year is just money we won't have to budget and spend. So it's a savings, but it's not an actual return. We're not getting cash money.
So the town budget associated with the transfer station will go down $46,000 a year.
Yes.
Good to know.
And that's because the contracted fees with Casella,
Have
because,
gone up
because
drastically.
that will go up every single year. We'll just absorb the refunds on that
Yep.
inside the budget.
So, Sarah, what you asked before, once you go to the town meeting and the only thing the truck dealership needs is a letter that shows that we have the finance to do it. So once they have that, I just email it to them. They got to go ahead, everything's ordered. And like I said, then the body company and the truck company hold the price and they start building it right away.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Comments, concerns? Winona?
I don't have anything else, Dan.
Okay, perfect. So we will move on to the second part of this is the appropriation transfer request.
Okay, so B 27.00 LoSiP current from the undesignated fund, $59,816 for fiscal year 23 unspent LoSiP funds and fiscal year 24 additional budgeted funds. And then C 2.05, which is a capital account, transfer station compactor upgrades from the undesignated fund, $190,000 for purchase of truck and containers for the transfer station.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to accept the appropriation / transfer as written.
Second.
Gary? Okay, discussion?
When are you gonna have the town meeting?
We're hoping early October. Okay. Will be discussed at the selectmen's meeting on Tuesday.
Why don't you all, you got any questions?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right, with that said, put it up to a vote. Ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 7, 7, 7, 6. There we go. 6, 0, 0. Appropriation pass. There you go. Okay.
So I'd just like to say thank you to the Board of Finance again, being forward thinking. Thank you to Alan and Donnie for coming up with this idea. These are the kind of things that we'll be here for a long time and help the town long after. Well, Don will be going, I'll be going, everybody else hopefully be here. But, thank you for your work and thank you for the Board of Finance. Again, being forward thinking, and Gary to help you out with the capital. We've been on it now for quite a while, and then you'll start seeing things come forward shortly, so. Thank you. I know you're getting nervous, but it's only because you're not in the loop, but we've been working on it.
I can't wait for the great unveil. By the way, the proposed steep grant money should be considered capital for this year for both the irrigation, the HVAC and the roof, because that's capital that the town is making investment. Doesn't matter where the source is coming from or how it's being funded, but it's considered a capital investment.
I'll defer to the Director of Finance on that one.
Okay. So with that done. All right, review of minutes. We have a pile of minutes to go through, even all the way from back in budget time.
So the first thing that is a minor change that needs to happen is the minutes that were approved on the March 29th date. It's a clerical error in the review of the minutes from the 13th and the 15th. So on March 29th, the minutes from the 13th and the 15th were reviewed. And then in the motion, it says that Gary Nino gave a motion. And Dan did the motion, Gary gave the motion a second, and the board approved the votes from March 15th, and 19th. So that just needs to be changed to 13th and 15th. So if you can just approve those, approve the fixing the clerical error in the minutes of March 29th.
I make a motion to fix the clerical minutes in the March 29th and approve them as discussed.
Second.
So. Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
600. All right, March 22nd. Yeah.
Alan. Hi, Rep.
There's nothing wrong with this building.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to set the minutes, March 22nd, 2023.
I second.
I'd like to point out that Amy did an amazing job capturing all of that back and forth.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all in favor to accept the minutes from March 22nd, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 600. All right. So this is the one I will not be able to vote on, May 17th. I was not present. Winona was seated for me.
And it was my birthday, so
Oh, happy birthday.
in May.
I make a motion to approve the Board of Finance minutes from 5/17/2023 as presented.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye, sorry.
aye.
Yep.
5-0, and
Three.
I'm abstention. Okay, I think that's all of them. Are we all caught up on minutes? Or are we?
So we need the minutes from April 19th and the minutes from June 28th, but we have approved all the minutes that we have on file.
Okay. Perfect. All right, public comments. We have a couple of folks online. No comments? No comments?
That'd be a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn from Gary,
Second.
second from Sarah. All in favor?